So I thought I'd do a real talk video about what actually happened when my specific person went back and what I went through emotionally and, you know, the real highs and lows of it. Because I feel like my experience might help you, if this hasn't happened for you yet, to learn some of the things that I didn't know at the time, so that you don't have to go through some of the difficult things that I did go through because I didn't know what I'm going to tell you now. So I hope this video is really useful to you. If you don't know my story, hello, I am Corrie T on this channel. Everybody calls me Corrie or Corrie T. My actual name is Karina. You can call me either. It's up to you. But I started this channel a couple of years ago, and one of my videos that I did was how I manifested my specific person, which I recorded from the lookout that I used to go to every day in Italy, where I was visualising and imagining this relationship that I'm now in, and we've been together now for 2.5 years and we have a baby. And I was recording this video from there, telling the story very enthusiastically, very excitedly about what I'd done, and really hoping to inspire people that they could create a similar outcome. And since then I've learned so much stuff about self-love, and most of it has been triggered through my relationship. So what happened was, long story short, and it is a long story short, so I'm going to cut it really short to the bit where we actually got together. We'd been in different countries, and it seemed like this kind of magical thing happened where, you know, the universe felt like the universe had listened to me, and people moved out of the way that were in the way. The world got smaller, and suddenly we were in the same place, and we were talking again. Then we were, you know, seeing each other, staying with each other, and then we were in a relationship on Facebook, and it all just seamlessly seemed to be that we were suddenly actually together. And it felt like, okay, this feels like the time when we're actually going to be together. And a lot of this felt right to me because I'd been really consciously deciding in my mind that I was ready to actually be with this person, because on some level I hadn't been. I'd been really living in fear of it not working out, and I had this narrative which was there's always something in between us and it never seems to work out for us, and he always goes away, love leaves, and all this sort of stuff. And that was what I was living in. That was the narrative that I kept telling people about. It was the one that I felt stuck on, and it just went round and round in circles. So I very consciously decided to change it and shift the narrative to say to myself, I'm ready now, and he's ready now, and we can do this. And I noticed immediately when I did that my own avoidance. I'd always thought I was anxious and the one chasing, but when I decided to say I'm ready, and if he came into be in my life now, I would accept it and I would be ready. And I noticed a sensation that was actually making me feel like, oh, are you sure? Are you really sure about that? And that was interesting to me. And it was something that I feel like I hadn't been aware of for the entire time that I had felt like I was manifesting him. I'd always felt like I was the one doing the chasing. And some people had said to me along the way, you know, he's lucky to know you. And honestly, one day these tables are going to turn so much and you're going to realise that you were the catch all along, and that he is going to know who you are to him, and he's going to be so happy to have you in his life, and it'll be a complete turnaround of events. And I couldn't imagine that. But at the same time, part of me thought, that is true. I do know that I'm a great person and that I'm a loving person, I'm full of love, and that actually he is lucky to know me. So part of me felt like at the time he just wasn't, you know, seeing or appreciating our connection, and that one day he would. This was just what I felt like. So anyway, this avoidant feeling that came up as soon as I decided to say, no, the narrative is changing now to me being ready. I'm ready and he's ready. And I noticed this strange sensation, but I carried on because I thought, well, we'll never be together unless I face this. We'll never be together unless I face the fear that it might not work out. We'll never be together as long as I keep saying that I need to heal, that I need to work something out, that I need to manifest it. So actually, no, I'm ready now. And I started doing this, and then we did get together. We got together, again, long story short, fairly quickly in the grand scheme of things. Since I started manifesting, really, manifesting it, I suppose it was like 9 or 10 months. So anyway, when we got together, I just was very anxious. I was very uncomfortable. Like, in some ways, it was like the biggest relief ever to finally just be together. Like, a lot of the stress kind of went away. So there was an element of this where I went, oh, phew, we're finally together. I don't have to be manifesting it anymore. And, we live together and it's all just very easy suddenly. We're just together and we were having fun and things like this. But, and this is the thing that happened that I didn't know would happen and wasn't prepared for, was that my old narrative of me not feeling good enough and me feeling this need of external validation and the lacking really of the depth of connection to myself and self-love that I really needed, that wasn't there. It wasn't fully there. I was aware of it, but I was still looking at him to make me feel loved. So in one way I was thinking, I've done it. I've won the prize. I've manifested my specific person. And I felt great for a while. I felt really, really good. But then I started getting anxious. The old stories of he leaves, he's going to go away, what if he meets someone else, started coming in. And I started feeling really like, oh no, I've still got this work to do and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to resolve this. What if I mess this up because I'm thinking like this and all of that? But I chose to stay as conscious as possible. I chose to stay with myself and my feelings and to go on this exploratory journey with myself, knowing that he was a mirror to me. So that I feel like that's kind of what held it together, because if I'd been unconscious and didn't know that he was reflecting me, then I probably would have acted out and maybe sabotaged that initial connection. And I just felt very anxious, and it just turned into like relationship obsessive thoughts, obsessive focus on him. And I lost myself. I completely lost myself. I did what I'd always done, which was throw myself into the relationship so much that I wasn't really meeting my own needs. I was expecting him to. We just became morphed as one, and it actually really wasn't that healthy. My friends started saying, why aren't you doing any music anymore, or why aren't you what are you doing? Basically, it just seems like your whole life just suddenly got turned upside down because you've got a boyfriend now. And that kind of is what happened. But at the same time, it felt like at this time in my life, I have to invest in this because this is a side of my life I've never fully invested in. And I really want to do that now. So I can see why it happened. But a lot of the problem and the anxiety that I had was because of my lack of connection to myself and the fear stories still running the show. But as I say, what I feel has saved it was my consciousness and awareness that I had to work on me. So I had to self-regulate. I had to speak to people who understood this journey. I did so much coaching, and I had so much coaching, and I really did go on such a journey, and still am on such a journey to connect back to myself. But what actually happened was, it was great. We're having an amazing time. We're going around the world, we're traveling, and it's like so much fun, and we're just having these really lovely times. And he's like absolutely, melting with me because I'm so there for him and I'm so present with him, and my focus is so on him. So on one hand, he is falling more for me, and on the other hand, I'm falling out of love with myself because the focus was so on him. And it was weird because he was just being himself and I was not really. And there was a lot of me that was. So like I say, I had done a lot of work on myself before, and I'd learned so much about manifestation and conscious creation and self-love and things like this. So I had such an awareness of it, but my nervous system wasn't catching up, and I didn't know what to do about that. And so I became really anxious. Will he talk to someone else on the internet and leave me? What if, when he goes to the shop, he actually ends up texting another girl, or all of this stuff. It was a really stressful time because I had this fear inside me projecting all of these worries and anxiety onto him and making it seem like he was the reason for my anxiety. Okay, so what this says, and what I know now looking back, is that I'd done so much work on learning about manifestation and self-love and stuff, and so the relationship manifested. But my connection to myself was still not there, and I was still outsourcing. I was still looking to him to meet my needs. No one and no relationship can meet all your needs. It's not their job. And I was getting annoyed and being resentful, and I started going away from love and into this kind of anger and resentment, and we started having little conflicts and bickering and things, and it was just not that great. It really wasn't that great. And I was so sad about it because I'd wanted to be with this person for so long. And so what happened was I have had to, what actually happened was we went travelling and everything was going really well, but then I crashed. It was almost like my body and my nervous system just said a massive loud no. So we were travelling and I felt like I was living his life, the life that he wanted, instead of the life that I wanted. And so I had to challenge myself to say, I know you love travelling and I know you really want to do this, but right now I need to do what's right for me, and I need to go home. I need to go back to England, and I'm so uncomfortable, and I was very nervous that he wouldn't want to and that he'd still choose travelling over me, which is a narrative that had been implanted in me since my childhood when my dad had gone travelling. My mum and dad had broken up and my dad went travelling for a long time. And so I think I had that narrative within me, and interestingly then saw it play out, my fears play out in the relationship. So I had to do all of this work on like what I was projecting onto him, and really look at the narratives of my nervous system and really get to know what my body was needing so that I could start to learn to give that to myself. So it took a lot of, me fighting with myself to be able to get to the point where I said, we have to go home, and if you don't want to go home, I have to go home, even if you can't, and that's not what I want, but I have to go home. I have to go and look after myself and my body, and I have to find myself again. I've lost myself, and it's not your fault, but it is my responsibility to go and find myself again, and I need the time and the space to do that. So what that led us to is coming back to England, and then us actually having a period of, I think it was 5 or 6 months, where we didn't live together anymore. He was back where he's from in the Cotswolds, and I was in Cambridge, and we were speaking on the phone, but I was absolutely had to retreat to find myself again. And the amazing thing is that he stayed with me throughout this process. He stayed with me, even though it was very confusing to him, and he didn't know what was going on, and he didn't know what he'd done. And he hadn't really. It was me. It was my responsibility that I'd lost myself and allowed so much of this to happen. And what I learned was I have to see my friends, I have to listen to my body, I have to get grounded again, I have to know how to regulate myself, I have to learn about these narratives in my nervous system and how they're likely to project onto a person and a relationship. I had to learn about why I was closing off to love, and learn to regulate in those moments so that I could open my heart again. And basically, it's been such a process. It's really been very, very difficult to do. And I know how hard this is. It really is like the work of a lifetime, transforming these narratives and overcoming the stories of ourselves that we have. And I do think we do it well in relationships because we're triggered so much into doing it and to really overcoming our stories. So what's amazing is that there was a horrendous time where I was absolutely, my nervous system was crashing so much, and at the same time it felt like my business was crashing too, and everything was telling me, go home, rest, reconnect back to yourself, be in nature, be with your friends. And I had to listen to that, and luckily he allowed me to do that, and we've stayed together, which I think has made us a lot stronger. We've been through a very, very difficult time, and we've evolved, both of us, into almost different people than who we thought we were when we met. The fantasy has died, and we are now two normal human beings who have decided to be together and chose love over fear, which feels more profound than a fairy tale that I was living in before, you know, and it feels more grounded, and it feels more like I can trust him more because I trust myself more, because I listened to myself and I did what was right for me, and I feel like he's been adjusting to me the whole time and evolving with me in his own way, not necessarily at the same rate, in fact at different rates. And the more responsibility I take for myself, the better I feel. The more I accept that I can't change him, the more he seems to. Which is weird. But anyway, I wanted to share this with you because we can manifest people in. We can do that. It's magic how the universe listens to that. But you want to be able to enjoy it, because honestly, it's so sad when you've worked so hard and thought about something for so long and you've really wanted it, and then you can't enjoy it because you're too anxious, you're too worried about losing it again. And so what I want to teach people now, and what I do with my clients, is teaching you to reconnect back to yourself so that you can feel and know how to be grounded and regulated and come from a place of love, so that you actually expect that and it feels right whenever it comes into your life, and you don't push it away or sabotage it, which honestly I nearly did so many times. So many times I've pushed Johnny away, which is weird because I was the one calling him in for so long, but the amount of times he said to me, "You're pushing me away. Why are you pushing me away?" And I didn't know, because I felt like these old narratives were so strong, and I felt like I was right, you know. But actually, a lot of it was my nervous system trying to protect me, and it being very, very confusing. And I've worked with a lot of people who've helped me along the way, and I would always recommend that you work with someone to help you through this, and someone who's done it before, because there's lots of therapists and people online who I've worked with therapists who haven't been through what I'm going through or what I've been through, and I always feel like I didn't connect with them and didn't feel like I could trust that they knew what to do because they hadn't done it. So everybody's different as well at the same time, so it's just about finding someone who you trust to go with you on this journey, but learning to listen to yourself, to say no. That was something I've really had to learn, to set boundaries, to take space, to really invest in looking after yourself as a priority so that you can love the other person and accept their love back. Because if you're coming from a place of fear, then you won't even be able to welcome that love in, which is the really difficult thing. So yeah, I hope you found this video useful, and that you've been taking some notes, and that you invest in learning about your nervous system and how to regulate and how to soothe yourself and how to understand the narratives of your body and your nervous system, because that will deeply affect your experience in relationships. And if you do want to come along to Love Embodied, we're doing that in this 2-week program, which starts today, and there's still time to join if you want to. You can find the information in the link below, or you can join the Conscious Creators Masters Academy, which is a 3-month program, which is my most intensive transformative program. It starts again in March. So I hope you found this video useful, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.